Ethan Parker, an exceptionally bright 10-year-old with a talent for engineering, lived a peaceful life in the bustling city of New York. His parents, both scientists, worked on advanced space technology projects for the United Nations Space Command. One evening, as Ethan tinkered with a miniature spaceship model in his room, an ominous hum filled the air. Suddenly, the walls of his room shimmered with a strange, blue light. Before Ethan could react, a portal opened, and tall, shadowy figures with gleaming eyes emerged. They moved with inhuman speed, subduing Ethan with a paralyzing beam. His parents, hearing the commotion, rushed in, but were quickly overpowered and rendered unconscious. Ethan was dragged through the portal, which closed instantly, leaving no trace of the intruders. He found himself in a sterile, metallic chamber aboard an alien ship. The beings, a species he had never seen before, communicated through a series of clicks and chirps. Despite his fear, Ethan's curiosity about their advanced technology momentarily distracted him from his plight. The ship hurtled through space, passing stars and nebulae in a blur. Ethan was taken to the heart of the Galactic Council's territory, a massive space station orbiting a dying star. The station, known as Nexus Prime, was the center of power for the Council, a coalition of the galaxy's most advanced and ruthless species. Ethan was placed in a containment cell, surrounded by advanced force fields. He tried to recall everything he had learned from his parents about aliens and space travel, hoping to find a way to escape. The cell's door opened, revealing a tall, imposing figure with metallic skin and piercing green eyes. It was Zelthar, the leader of the Galactic Council. Zelthar spoke in perfect, albeit cold, English. "Welcome, human child. You are now a guest of the Galactic Council. Your intelligence and unique human attributes have piqued our interest. You will assist us in our research, willingly or otherwise." Ethan's heart raced, but he stood his ground. "I won't help you. My people will come for me." Zelthar's laugh was devoid of warmth. "We shall see, young one. We shall see." Captain Isabella Ramirez sat in her quarters aboard the UNS Vanguard, a sleek, cutting-edge battleship patrolling the outer fringes of human-controlled space. A veteran of many skirmishes, Isabella was known for her tactical brilliance and unyielding determination. As she reviewed reports from the latest patrol, a sudden alert interrupted her. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal," her first officer, Lieutenant James Carver, announced over the intercom. "It's on a frequency used by Earth-based civilian technology." Isabella immediately headed to the bridge, where a holographic display showed the source of the signal. It was weak and fragmented, but unmistakably human. "Patch it through," she ordered. The message crackled to life. "This is Ethan Parker. Abducted. Galactic Council. Experiments. Help." Isabella's blood ran cold. She knew the Parkers well. They were respected scientists and friends. She also knew the implications of the Council conducting experiments on a human child. "Prepare to trace the signal," she commanded. "We need to pinpoint its origin." As the crew worked to locate the source, Isabella contacted Admiral Chen, the commander of Earth's space fleet. "Admiral, we've received a distress signal from Ethan Parker. The Council has him." Chen's face hardened. "Understood, Captain. You are authorized to take any necessary action to retrieve him. Earth's allies must be informed, and the Vanguard must proceed with caution. The Council's reach is vast and dangerous." Isabella nodded. "We'll get him back, sir, and we'll make them pay for what they've done." The Vanguard, a marvel of human engineering, powered up its advanced engines and set course for the coordinates extracted from Ethan's signal. As they approached the edge of Council-controlled space, Isabella gathered her senior officers. "We're going into hostile territory," she stated, her voice steady. "Our mission is to rescue Ethan and bring him home. But this is also an opportunity to strike a blow against the Council's tyranny. We have allies who share our cause. Contact the Farians and Varkans. We will need their support." The crew sprang into action, sending encrypted messages to their allies. The feline-like Farians, known for their agility and stealth, and the wolf-like Varkans, renowned for their strength and combat prowess, responded swiftly. Both species had long resented the Council's dominance and were eager to join the fight. As the Vanguard neared its destination, Isabella stood on the bridge, staring at the stars ahead. "Prepare for battle," she ordered. We go in fast and hard, for Ethan and for all who suffer under the Council's rule." The ship's engines roared to life, and the Vanguard plunged into the heart of enemy space, ready to face whatever awaited them. Captain Isabella Ramirez stood at the helm of the UNS Vanguard, her eyes scanning the stars for any sign of their allies. The call for assistance had been sent, and now they waited. Her first officer, Lieutenant James Carver, approached her with a data pad. "Captain, we've received responses from both the Farians and the Varkans. They're on their way," Carver reported. Isabella nodded, her expression resolute. "Good. We'll need their help if we're to stand any chance against the Council." Moments later, the vastness of space shimmered as two distinct fleets emerged from faster-than-light travel. The Farians, with their sleek, agile ships, appeared first. Their vessels, designed for stealth and precision, contrasted sharply with the imposing, armored warships of the Varkans that arrived shortly after. A communication request came through, and the holographic projector activated, revealing the faces of Commander Lyra of the Farians and General Tarkhan of the Varkans. "Captain Ramirez, it is an honor to stand with you," Lyra said, her feline features softening in a rare smile. "Humanity has proven itself a worthy ally," rumbled Tarkhan, his voice like distant thunder. "We are ready to fight." Isabella acknowledged them with a nod. "Thank you both. The Council has crossed a line, and together we will make them regret it." As plans were being finalized, the mood shifted abruptly when the radar officer called out, "Captain, multiple contacts closing in fast. It's a Krall fleet." The insectoid Krall were notorious for their loyalty to the Council and their ruthless tactics. Isabella clenched her fists. "All hands, battle stations. Commander Lyra, General Tarkhan, prepare for engagement." The Krall ships descended upon the Vanguard and its allies with brutal efficiency, their spiked, organic-looking vessels launching volleys of plasma at the Coalition fleet. The space around them lit up with the exchange of fire, and the battle began in earnest. Lyra's Farian ships darted through the fray, their agility allowing them to outmaneuver the Krall and strike at their weak points. Meanwhile, Tarkhan's Varkan warships absorbed the brunt of the assault, their thick armor deflecting the worst of the plasma blasts. The Vanguard itself was a whirlwind of activity. Isabella barked orders, directing her crew to target specific Krall vessels. "Focus fire on their flagship. We need to cut the head off this snake." Lieutenant Carver worked tirelessly at his console, coordinating with the Farians and Varkans. "Commander Lyra, we need a distraction on their left flank. General Tarkhan, concentrate your fire on their forward batteries." The coordinated assault began to take its toll on the Krall. One by one, their ships succumbed to the relentless onslaught. But the Krall fought ferociously, their desperation evident as they realized they were losing. A particularly large Krall cruiser targeted the Vanguard, its plasma cannons charging for a devastating strike. Isabella made a split-second decision. Evasive maneuvers. Prepare for counterattack. The Vanguard's thrusters roared as the ship veered sharply, narrowly avoiding the plasma blast. The return fire from the Vanguard's main cannons hit the Krall cruiser dead on, causing it to erupt in a fiery explosion. With the Krall fleet in disarray, the Coalition pressed their advantage. The remaining Krall ships attempted to retreat, but they were swiftly hunted down by the vengeful Farians and Varkans. The battle ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving the Vanguard and its allies victorious but wary. Isabella took a moment to survey the aftermath. "Status report," she called out. Carver responded, "Minimal damage to our ships, Captain. The Krall have been routed." "Good," Isabella replied, her voice steely. "But this is just the beginning. We've sent a message to the Council. Now we need to keep the pressure on." The Coalition fleet, still fresh from their victory, set course for the relay station. The journey was tense, with everyone on edge, knowing the Council would respond swiftly. As they approached the station, it became clear that it was heavily fortified. "Scans indicate multiple defense platforms and a garrison fleet," Lieutenant Carver reported. "Typical Council overconfidence," Isabella muttered. "All ships prepare for engagement. We'll divide and conquer. Commander Lyra, take your ships and disable the defense platforms. General Tarkhan, your forces will engage the garrison fleet. The Vanguard will handle the station itself." The plan was set into motion. Lyra's Farian ships cloaked themselves and darted toward the defense platforms, their stealth technology allowing them to approach undetected. They struck with precision, disabling the platform's weaponry before the enemy even realized they were under attack. Meanwhile, Tarkon's Varkan warships charged head-on into the garrison fleet. The space around the relay station erupted into chaos as the two forces clashed. The Varkan's brute strength and relentless tactics proved too much for the Council's ships, which began to falter under the sustained assault. The Vanguard, its weapons blazing, approached the relay station. The station's defenses activated, launching a barrage of missiles and laser fire. Isabella's crew responded with practiced efficiency, intercepting the missiles with point defense systems and returning fire with their own heavy cannons. As the Vanguard closed in, Isabella ordered a boarding party to prepare. "Lieutenant Carver, you're with me. We're taking that station." A shuttle launched from the Vanguard, weaving through the firefight and docking with the station. Isabella, Carver, and a team of Marines stormed aboard, quickly overcoming the initial resistance. The corridors of the station echoed with the sounds of gunfire and shouts as they fought their way to the control center. Inside the control room, Council officers scrambled to defend their position. Isabella's team breached the doors, engaging in a fierce firefight. Carver took down the lead officer, while Isabella disabled the station's communication systems. With the relay station neutralized, the Council's coordination in the sector was severely disrupted. As the last of the resistance was crushed, Isabella contacted the Vanguard. "Mission accomplished. The station is ours." The Coalition fleet regrouped, the relay station now a smoldering wreck. Isabella addressed her allies, her voice firm. "We've struck a significant blow today, but this war is far from over. We need to keep pushing, keep fighting, for Ethan and for everyone suffering under the Council's tyranny." With renewed determination, the fleet set course for their next target, knowing that each victory brought them one step closer to freeing the galaxy from the Council's grip. Deep within the heart of the Galactic Council's stronghold, Nexus Prime, Zelthar convened an emergency meeting with the Council's elite. The chamber, a vast, dimly lit room with towering pillars and an imposing central dais, hummed with a low, sinister energy. Zelthar, his metallic skin glinting under the chamber's eerie lights, addressed the assembled leaders. "The human threat is more significant than we anticipated. Their recent attacks have disrupted our communications and emboldened other species. We must respond decisively." A holographic image of Ethan appeared above the dais. "This human child holds the key to understanding their rapid technological advancements. Our experiments must continue, but we need to accelerate our efforts. We cannot afford further disruptions." The insectoid crawl representative clicked its mandibles in agreement. "The human's neural patterns are unlike any we have encountered. We must extract their secrets before they mount another attack." Zelthar nodded. "Agreed. Increase security around the research facility. I want no mistakes, and prepare our fleets for a counteroffensive. We will crush this rebellion and make an example of humanity." Meanwhile, in the dark, sterile lab where Ethan was held, the young boy was strapped to a metal table, surrounded by an array of alien instruments. He winced as a sharp probe was inserted into his arm, extracting a sample of his blood. Monitors beeped and whirred, analyzing every aspect of his physiology. Ethan's thoughts drifted to his family and the life he had been ripped away from. Despite the fear and pain, he clung to the hope that Captain Isabella Ramirez and the Vanguard would find him. He had overheard his captors discussing their fears about the human fleet, and took comfort in the fact that his people were fighting back. As the experiments continued, Ethan's mind was subjected to invasive scans. The Council's scientists were relentless, probing for any hint of the secrets behind humanity's rapid advancements. The boy's resilience impressed them, but they were determined to break him. One of the lead scientists, a Thulian with translucent skin and bulbous eyes, approached Zelthar with new data. "We have made progress, but the boy's mind is remarkably resistant. It will take time to fully understand and replicate their technology." Zelthar's eyes narrowed. "Time is a luxury we do not have. Double your efforts. If the humans are this resilient, we must be prepared for a prolonged conflict." and ensure the boy remains under constant surveillance. He is too valuable to lose. Back on the UNS Vanguard, Captain Isabella Ramirez stood before her senior officers, a detailed holographic map of Nexus Prime hovering above the table. "We have the intel we need," she began. "Ethan is being held in a secure research facility on Nexus Prime. We need to get him out, but it won't be easy." Lieutenant Mark Jensen, a master of disguise and covert operations, stepped forward. "Captain, I've studied the layout and security protocols of the facility. With the right team, I believe we can infiltrate and extract Ethan without raising the alarm." Isabella nodded. "You'll lead the infiltration team, Mark. Choose your best people. We'll provide a distraction to keep the bulk of their forces occupied." Jensen quickly assembled his team, consisting of the Vanguard's top operatives: Sergeant Lila Verne, a skilled hacker; Corporal Amir Dre, an expert marksman; and Specialist Zoe Tan, a demolitions expert. Disguised as Crawl operatives, they boarded a stealth shuttle and set course for Nexus Prime. As the shuttle approached the imposing station, Jensen activated the cloaking device, rendering them invisible to the Council's sensors. The shuttle docked quietly at an auxiliary port, and the team disembarked, moving swiftly and silently through the shadowy corridors. Sergeant Verney hacked into the station's security systems, looping camera feeds and disabling alarms. They navigated the maze-like facility, avoiding patrols and bypassing locked doors. Jensen's knowledge of Crawl customs and behaviors allowed them to blend in seamlessly when they encountered other beings. Finally, they reached the research wing where Ethan was held. Using a device crafted by the Vanguard's engineers, Verna bypassed the heavy security door. Inside, they found Ethan, pale and exhausted, but alive. Jensen approached him gently. "Ethan, we're here to get you out. Can you walk?" Ethan's eyes lit up with a mix of relief and determination. "Yes, I can walk. Let's get out of here." The team retraced their steps, now with Ethan in tow. Their luck held until they reached the docking bay, where a patrol of Thulian guards spotted them. Alarms blared as the guards raised their weapons. "Move, move," Jensen shouted, as Corporal Dre and Specialist Tan engaged the guards, buying time for the others to board the shuttle. The firefight was intense, with laser blasts ricocheting off the walls. Tan set charges to cover their retreat, and the team managed to board the shuttle just as the charges detonated, creating a massive explosion that shook the station. Jensen piloted the shuttle away from Nexus Prime, cloaking them once more. "Hang on, everyone. We're not out of this yet." As they sped away, the Vanguard's distraction force engaged the Council's ships, drawing attention away from the escaping shuttle. Isabella's voice came over the comms. "Good work, team. Get back to the Vanguard. We're heading home." The UNS Vanguard jumped through hyperspace, its sleek hull gliding through the cosmic currents. Ethan sat in the medical bay, attended by Dr. Lena Wallace, the ship's chief medical officer. Isabella Ramirez watched over him, her mind racing with plans and contingencies. The boy's resilience was remarkable, but the psychological toll of his ordeal was evident. "Captain," Dr. Wallace said, glancing up from her diagnostic scanner, "Ethan's physical injuries are healing, but he's been through severe mental and emotional trauma. He needs time to recover." Isabella nodded, placing a reassuring hand on Ethan's shoulder. "We'll give him all the time he needs. For now, we need to ensure his safety." Lieutenant Carver entered the room, a grim expression on his face. "Captain, we've intercepted Council communications. They're mobilizing their fleets. They won't let this escape go unpunished." Isabella's jaw tightened. "Then we need to stay one step ahead. Plot a course to the rendezvous point with our allies. We need to regroup and prepare for the next phase." As the Vanguard altered course, the crew worked tirelessly to fortify their defenses and strategize for the inevitable counterattack. The ship's atmosphere was tense but focused. Everyone knew the stakes. In the war room, Isabella convened a meeting with her senior officers. Holographic images of Commander Lyra and General Tarkon joined them, beamed in from their respective flagships. "Commander Lyra, General Tarkon," Isabella began, "the Council is mobilizing. We need to hit them hard and fast before they can regroup. Any intelligence on their fleet movements?" Lyra's feline features sharpened as she spoke. Our scouts report that the Council is concentrating their forces near the asteroid belt of the Phobos system. It's a strategic choke point. If we strike there, we can disrupt their supply lines and communications. Tarkon nodded in agreement. My forces are ready. We've identified key targets within the asteroid belt that, if destroyed, will cripple their operational capabilities. Isabella formulated a plan. We'll launch a multi-pronged assault. The vanguard will lead the main attack, drawing their forces. Lyra, your ships will perform flanking maneuvers and target their communication relays. Tarkon, your warships will provide heavy support and eliminate their command vessels. With the plan set, the Coalition fleet prepared for battle. As they approached the Phobos system, the anticipation was palpable. The stars around them seemed to hold their breath as the armada emerged from hyperspace, ready to engage the enemy. The Phobos system's asteroid belt loomed ahead, a chaotic field of rocky debris and hidden dangers. As the Coalition fleet advanced, sensors detected the presence of the Council's forces. Warships bristling with weaponry maneuvered among the asteroids, preparing to defend their stronghold. Battle stations, Isabella commanded, her voice echoing through the Vanguard's corridors. All ships, engage on my mark. The Vanguard surged forward, its cannons blazing. Explosions lit up the dark void as the first volleys found their marks. The Council's ships responded in kind, and the battle quickly escalated into a maelstrom of laser fire and missile trails. Amidst the chaos, Commander Lyra's Farian ships cloaked themselves and slipped through the asteroid field, targeting the communication relays with pinpoint accuracy. One by one, the Council's relays exploded, sowing confusion among their ranks. General Tarkon's Varkan warships charged into the fray, their heavy cannons delivering devastating blows to the enemy. The Council's command vessels, identified by their distinctive markings, became prime targets. Tarkon's forces unleashed a relentless barrage, breaking through the enemy's defenses. On the Vanguard, Isabella activated a secure communication channel to Dr. Wallace. Doctor, it's time. Release the beasts. In a specially designed hangar, massive containment pods hissed open, revealing humanity's secret weapons, genetically engineered beasts, known as the Terran predators. These creatures, a hybrid of Earth's most formidable predators, had been created to protect humanity from extraterrestrial threats. The predators, equipped with advanced combat suits, launched into space from the Vanguard's hangar. Their feral instincts combined with their engineered intelligence made them a terrifying force. They moved with deadly grace, tearing through enemy ships and boarding parties with unparalleled ferocity. Ethan watched from the bridge, awestruck by the spectacle. Despite his ordeal, a spark of hope ignited within him. Humanity had allies in these creatures, and together they were a force to be reckoned with. The tide of battle turned in the Coalition's favor. The Council's ships, unable to cope with the onslaught of the Terran predators and the coordinated attacks from the Allied fleets, began to retreat. The asteroid belt became a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered hulls. As the last of the Council's forces fled, the Coalition regrouped, tending to their wounded and assessing their losses. The victory was hard won, but it was a significant blow to the Council's power. Isabella stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the stars beyond. "We've shown them what we're capable of," she said, her voice resolute. "But this is just the beginning. The Council will come back, and we need to be ready." Ethan stepped forward, his voice steady despite his youth. "We will be, Captain. They won't stop us." Isabella smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "No, they won't. We'll make sure of that." "Isabella," General Tarkon growled, his holographic image flickering slightly, "we've dealt them a significant blow, but we must capitalize on this. We need to incite rebellion across the galaxy." Commander Lyra nodded, her feline eyes gleaming with determination. "Agreed. Many species under the Council's yoke are eager for freedom. We need to reach out to them, offer them our support and a chance to fight back." Isabella leaned over the table, the star map casting a blue glow on her face. "Our first step is to establish communication with these oppressed species. We need to broadcast a message of unity and resistance. Lieutenant Carver, can you make it happen?" Carver, ever resourceful, nodded confidently. "I can hijack the Council's communication networks. We'll need to transmit from a secure location, though. If they trace the signal, they'll come down on us hard. The decision was made to use an abandoned mining outpost on the edge of Council-controlled space. The Vanguard and its allies set course, arriving at the desolate location under the cover of darkness. The outpost's old communication array was reactivated, and Carver began his work. As the final adjustments were made, Isabella prepared to address the galaxy. She stood before the camera, her voice steady and commanding. To all species suffering under the tyranny of the Galactic Council, this is Captain Isabella Ramirez of the UNS Vanguard. We have struck a blow against our oppressors, and we stand ready to fight for freedom. Join us. Rise against your captors. Together, we can reclaim our galaxy. The message was broadcast far and wide, reaching planets and star systems across the Council's domain. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Uprisings ignited on dozens of worlds, from the ice plains of Arcturus to the lush jungles of Xanthara. Species long silenced by fear and oppression found their voices, rallying under the banner of the rebellion. Isabella and her allies devised a plan to confront the Council's forces head-on. The Vanguard, now the flagship of the rebellion, led the charge. The Coalition fleet, an eclectic mix of human, Farian, Varkan, and newly liberated ships, advanced toward the nebula. As they approached, the sheer size of the Council's armada became apparent. Hundreds of warships, bristling with weapons, awaited them. Isabella addressed her fleet, her voice carrying over the communication channels. This is it. The Council believes they can break us here, but they underestimate our resolve. We fight for our freedom, for our future. Let's show them what we're made of. The two fleets clashed with a ferocity that shook the very fabric of space. Explosions lit up the nebula, casting eerie shadows across the battlefield. The Vanguard spearheaded the assault, its advanced weaponry tearing through enemy ships. The Terran predators, unleashed once more, wreaked havoc among the Council's forces, boarding enemy vessels and dismantling them from within. Commander Lyra's Farian ships executed precision strikes, exploiting weaknesses in the Council's formations. General Tarkhan's Varkan warships provided heavy support, their sheer firepower turning the tide in several critical engagements. Despite their initial successes, the Council's forces were relentless. The battle raged on, with neither side willing to yield. Isabella realized they needed to strike a decisive blow to turn the tide definitively. "Target their flagship," she ordered. "If we take out their command vessel, we can throw their entire fleet into disarray." The Vanguard and a select group of Allied ships focused their fire on the Council's flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with defenses. The battle was intense, with both sides sustaining heavy losses. Isabella's tactical acumen and the combined efforts of the Coalition eventually broke through the flagship's defenses. As the Council's flagship exploded in a blinding flash of light, the morale of their fleet shattered. The remaining Council ships, leaderless and demoralized, began to retreat. The Coalition fleet pursued them, ensuring that they would not regroup for another assault. The Nebula of Sorrows was left littered with the wreckage of war. The Coalition had emerged victorious, but at a significant cost. Ships limped back to the rendezvous point for repairs, their crews weary but resolute. Isabella stood on the bridge of the Vanguard, surveying the aftermath. "We've won a great victory today," she said, her voice filled with both pride and sorrow. "But the war is not over. The Council will regroup, and they will come for us again. We must be ready." Her words resonated with the crew and their allies. They had faced the Council's might and emerged victorious, but the road to freedom was still long and fraught with danger. With their spirits unbroken, the Coalition prepared for the battles yet to come, united in their quest for a galaxy free from tyranny. In the aftermath of the battle at the Nebula of Sorrows, the Coalition forces regrouped and made their way to a hidden base on the moon of Lothara. This moon, covered in dense forests and mountains, provided the perfect cover for their operations. As the fleet landed, the atmosphere buzzed with both relief and urgency. Repairs and medical aid were the top priorities. Captain Isabella Ramirez convened a strategic meeting in the command center, a large cavernous room carved into the moon's rocky interior. Holographic displays projected the latest intelligence and battle reports. Among the gathered leaders were Commander Lyra, General Tarkhan, and Neril, the enigmatic diplomat from the planet Virana, whose people had recently joined the rebellion. Neril, with his smooth silver skin and piercing blue eyes, had been instrumental in securing several key alliances. His strategic insights and diplomatic skills had earned him a place at the highest levels of the Coalition's command. As the meeting progressed, Neril presented his latest analysis of the Council's movements. "The Council is reeling from their losses," Neril said, his voice calm and authoritative. "Their fleets are scattered, and their communication is in disarray. Now is the time to strike their supply lines and cripple their logistics." Isabella nodded thoughtfully. "Agreed. We need to keep the pressure on. We'll divide our forces and hit multiple targets simultaneously." As plans were laid out, Neril's eyes flickered with a hint of something unreadable. None in the room noticed, but the seeds of betrayal were already sown. That night, under the cover of darkness, Neril slipped away from the base. He activated a concealed communication device, one that bypassed the Coalition's security systems. In the privacy of the forest, he contacted Zelthar. "My lord," Neril whispered, his voice betraying a hint of fear, "the Coalition is vulnerable. I have provided the information you requested. Now, I demand safe passage for my people as agreed." Zelthar's image, cold and imposing, flickered into view. "You have done well, Neril. The Council does not forget its loyal servants. Prepare for extraction. Your reward awaits." The following morning, the Coalition forces prepared to launch their coordinated attacks. As the fleet moved into position, alarms blared throughout the base. Isabella rushed to the command center, where Lieutenant Carver was already analyzing the incoming data. "Captain, we have multiple unidentified ships closing in fast," Carver reported. "It's an ambush." Isabella's mind raced. How did they find us? But even as she asked, the answer became clear. "Neril," she muttered, her voice filled with betrayal and anger. Council ships, sleek and deadly, emerged from hyperspace, their weapons already primed. The Coalition forces scrambled to respond, but the element of surprise was lost. The battle that ensued was chaotic and brutal. The moon's surface lit up with explosions as the two forces clashed. Isabella fought fiercely, directing her forces and rallying her allies. Despite their best efforts, the Coalition was outmatched and outgunned. The realization that their plans had been betrayed sapped morale, and the tide of battle turned against them. Amidst the chaos, Isabella saw Neril being escorted to a Council shuttle. She aimed her weapon, but the distance was too great, and the traitor escaped. The Council's forces, now bolstered by their treacherous allies' information, pressed their advantage. "Fall back," Isabella ordered, her voice cutting through the noise of battle. "We need to regroup and evacuate." The Coalition forces retreated, fighting their way back to their ships. The Vanguard, taking heavy fire, managed to lift off just in time. As the Coalition fleet jumped to hyperspace, the moon of Lothara was left burning, a stark reminder of the price of betrayal. Captain Isabella Ramirez, standing in the command center, addressed her assembled leaders. "We've been dealt a heavy blow, but we're not out of this fight. It's time to take the war to the heart of the Council. We're going to strike Nexus Prime and bring down Zelthar once and for all." General Tarkhan growled his approval. "A direct assault on their capital will be dangerous, but it's our best chance to cripple them for good." Commander Lyra's eyes gleamed with fierce determination. "We'll need to move quickly and decisively. The Council won't expect us to attack so soon after our defeat." The plan was audacious. A full-scale assault on Nexus Prime, the heavily fortified seat of the Galactic Council's power. Intelligence gathered from various sources, including defectors and sympathetic insiders, provided crucial details about the station's defenses and weak points. As the Coalition fleet prepared for the assault, Ethan approached Isabella on the bridge. "Captain, I want to help. I've been working on something that might give us an edge." Isabella looked at the young boy, seeing the fire of determination in his eyes. "What do you have in mind, Ethan?" Ethan explained his idea. A virus that could disable the station's defense systems, giving the Coalition forces a crucial window of opportunity. With the help of Dr. Wallace and the ship's engineers, He had developed a prototype that could be deployed via a drone. "It's risky," Ethan admitted, "but it could turn the tide in our favor." Isabella nodded, impressed by his ingenuity. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get." The fleet moved into position, and the assault on Nexus Prime began. The initial approach was met with fierce resistance. The station's formidable defenses unleashed a torrent of firepower, and the Coalition fleet responded in kind. The space around Nexus Prime erupted into a chaotic battlefield. Ethan's drone, carrying the virus, darted through the melee, evading enemy fire. Guided by Ethan's steady hand and precise calculations, it reached the station's main control hub. The virus uploaded successfully, and moments later the station's defenses flickered and went offline. "Now!" Isabella shouted. "All ships, move in!" The Vanguard led the charge, breaching the station's outer defenses. Coalition forces poured into Nexus Prime, engaging the Council's elite guards in brutal close-quarters combat. Isabella, armed and ready, joined the boarding party, determined to confront Zelthar personally. The corridors of Nexus Prime echoed with the sounds of battle. Isabella and her team fought their way to the central command chamber, where Zelthar awaited, surrounded by his most loyal guards. The confrontation was intense, with laser blasts and plasma bolts crisscrossing the room. Isabella's focus was unwavering. She advanced on Zelthar, who stood at the heart of the command chamber, his expression cold and calculating. "This ends now, Zelthar," she declared. Zelthar sneered. "You are a fool, Captain. You cannot hope to defeat the Council." Their fight was fierce and personal, a clash of wills as much as of weapons. Isabella's determination and skill were matched by Zelthar's cunning and strength. But in the end, humanity's resolve proved stronger. With a final decisive strike, Isabella brought Zelthar to his knees. As Zelthar fell, the command center erupted into chaos. Council forces, realizing their leader was defeated, began to falter. The Coalition pressed their advantage, securing key areas of the station and capturing high-ranking Council officials. The siege of Nexus Prime marked a turning point in the war. With Zelthar defeated and the Council's command structure in disarray, the Coalition seized control of the station. The victory was a significant blow to the Council's power and a beacon of hope for the galaxy. Standing amidst the ruins of the command chamber, Isabella looked to her allies. "This is just the beginning. We've shown the galaxy that the Council can be defeated. Now, we fight to ensure that freedom prevails." The Coalition's fleet gathered at a staging point just outside the Zelthara system. The tension was palpable. This would be one of their most challenging battles yet. Isabella stood on the bridge of the UNS Vanguard, addressing her crew and allies through a secure communication channel. "Today, we face the remnants of the Council's might," she began, her voice steady and resolute. "Zelthara is their last bastion of power. If we take it, we break their hold on the galaxy. We fight not just for victory, but for a future free from tyranny, for our families, our friends, and for Ethan." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, emerging near Zelthara. The planet was surrounded by a massive defense grid and a formidable fleet of Council warships. The battle began immediately, with the Coalition's ships engaging the enemy in a fierce exchange of fire. Isabella directed her forces with precision, her commands turning the tide of smaller skirmishes. The Vanguard spearheaded the assault, breaking through the initial lines of defense. Fighter squadrons from both sides clashed in a chaotic dance of death, filling the space with explosions and debris. On the ground, elite Coalition forces led by General Tarkhan prepared for the final assault on the fortress. Ethan, though young, had insisted on contributing. Using his technical expertise, he hacked into the planet's defense systems, creating openings for Tarkhan's forces to exploit. As the Coalition fleet battered the Council's ships, Isabella received a message from Commander Lyra. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup at the fortress. It looks like a superweapon. We need to take it out before it can fire." Isabella nodded grimly. "Acknowledged. We'll handle it. Lyra, continue to provide air support. Tarkhan, your team needs to neutralize that weapon." The Vanguard descended into the planet's atmosphere, navigating through anti-aircraft fire. The ship's advanced shielding and evasive maneuvers kept it safe, but the danger was immense. Isabella led a strike team, including Ethan, to disable the superweapon from the inside. They landed near the fortress and fought their way through waves of Council soldiers. The fortress was a labyrinth of corridors and defense systems, but Ethan's knowledge and quick thinking guided them through. They reached the superweapon's control room just as it was about to fire. Ethan interfaced with the control systems, working furiously to override the firing sequence. "I need more time," he shouted over the din of battle. "Cover him," Isabella ordered, as she and her team held off the Council guards. The firefight was intense, with laser bolts and explosions filling the room. Just as the weapon's countdown reached its final moments, Ethan succeeded. The superweapon powered down, its deadly energy dissipating harmlessly. The coalition forces outside cheered as the fortress's defenses began to crumble. Isabella contacted the fleet. "The superweapon is neutralized. Focus all fire on the remaining enemy forces. We're taking this fortress." With renewed vigor, the coalition fleet pressed the attack. The Council's forces, now leaderless and disorganized, began to fall apart. General Tarkhan's ground troops secured the fortress, capturing the last high-ranking Council officials. Isabella walked through the makeshift medical tents, checking on her injured crew and allies. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic and the sounds of medics attending to the wounded. She found Ethan sitting on a cot, a bandage wrapped around his arm but otherwise unharmed. "You did well, Ethan," she said, sitting beside him. "We couldn't have done it without you." Ethan looked up, his eyes filled with a mix of pride and sadness. "Thank you, Captain. But so many people, so many of our friends didn't make it." Isabella placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We honor their sacrifice by continuing to fight for the future they believed in. We have to build a galaxy where such sacrifices are no longer necessary." As the coalition forces began to regroup, Isabella convened a final meeting with Commander Lyra, General Tarkhan, and other key leaders. The room was filled with a sense of accomplishment, but also the weight of the losses they had suffered. "We've struck a decisive blow against the Council," Isabella began. "Their leadership is shattered, and their forces are in disarray. But our work is far from over. We need to secure the peace and rebuild what's been destroyed." Lyra spoke up, her tone reflective. "We must also address the needs of the liberated planets. They will look to us for guidance and support as they rebuild their societies." Tarkhan nodded in agreement. "The Varkans are ready to assist in any way we can. Our strength will help maintain order during this transition." Isabella looked around the room, seeing the determination in the eyes of her allies. "We've proven that together. We are stronger than any one of us alone. We will create a new Galactic Council, one that represents all species and upholds justice and peace.